into shield cast to sword flare. Shield cast. Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and I talk a lot about using heavy clubs for your health and fitness. Heavy clubs do something that you cannot do in the gym at all. They train you to do the most important basic human movement patterns, which are the movement patterns that separate us from everything else on the planet. A lot of animals can run fast, a lot of animals can lift and carry. Only one animal, humans, is really good at throwing patterns. Throwing baseballs, throwing rocks, and doing throwing patterns, which are jab, hook, cross, uppercut, combined with stepping patterns, and then putting all of those into tool use to create something like sword movement. Up until about 150 years ago, every culture in all of human history was very concerned with getting good at swords. If you practice heavy club swinging, you're practicing primary human movement patterns. The integration of your wrist, elbow, shoulder to swing weights, to wield weapons, or to use tools to create civilization. Axes and hammers build civilization, swords defend civilization. The exercise we're going to talk about today is an advanced heavy club exercise. It usually comes after people have practiced the pure basics for at least 7 weights. The pure basics start with single arm inside circle, single arm outside circle, single arm shield cast. Those are practiced in a neutral stance with your feet pointed straight ahead. After you get through about 7 weights and 7 cycles of that, then people go to more advanced movements. They go from a heavy club back to a mid-weight club, 40 to 50%, and they start practicing cross-body throwing pattern movements. Like all heavy club movements, sword flare starts from the order position. To pick up the club, we are going to step back from our club 12 to 18 inches. Point our thumb down, grab at the bottom of the handle, point our elbow pit up, swing back, and catch in order position. If you don't think this is hard, get a heavier club. When you can do it with 50 pounds for 100 reps, you're on your way. The forward sword flare that we are talking about today is the easiest one to start with. It is full grip maintained on the club, tip goes forward, elbow goes up, and re-catch. Let's see that again. Hand fully on the club, which is different than a real sword flare, where it can become a wrist exercise. Tip goes forward, it drops down, the elbow comes towards the center line, put it behind you, and pull over. Heavy club version as opposed to the light club version or the sword version. The light club version, which we will do with this Wave Chi club made in Hawaii. This is a 1.25 pound club, and you could practice it with just this tiny club, but when it goes to a light sword flare, then it goes to full arm extension, and the grip can come off. Heavy club, full grip on, more elbow and more lat. Light club, wrist with finger articulation. Catch, catch, catch. When it's practiced with a real sword, this is an approximation of a real sword. It's a cold steel hunting sword. Same idea, straight in front, tip goes down, drop, pull over, and end up back and point. Back and point, back and point. You'll see this practice in Chinese martial arts, European martial arts. Everybody who has some version of sword practices this in the front as a shoulder wrist exercise or straight off to the side in the open shoulder position, because that open shoulder position eventually turns into your fighting lunge, and you would practice that sword flare from here, first point up, and then on point, dropping the tip, getting back to on point. Single edge short sword is something that's very common in history because it's really close to machete fighting. A machete is a peasant's big agricultural knife, and it's one of the first weapons that people kind of get and get really good at. If it's Chinese martial arts, European martial arts, Chinese martial arts, single edge Dao, there's a ton of different versions of it. In European martial arts, it's a falchion, or something like a single edge cutting sword becomes something like a hanger sword. Into Filipino martial arts, where it's closer to a machete, It's very fancy over time. How you grip and how you do this exercise changes based on what culture it is, but the idea is generally the same. There is an outside version of it, there's an inside version of it, and then there's the back version of both of those. So think that there's 4 versions of it. When we convert this to heavy club swinging, we do forward circle, outside first, and when we work our way up in weight. This club is relatively light. It's maybe 15 pounds right now, which is heavy compared to a sword. Think swords for most of human history. Machete 1 pound, sword heavy 3 pounds. This is a 30-pound Hephaestus. Our goal is not a wrist exercise. It is an elbow, spine, shoulder exercise. Same idea, drop, tip, and pull. Drop, tip, and pull. What you're noticing is I'm learning to integrate the movement of my spine and my core into this swinging outside pullover. Keep your hand on it fully the entire time. No pinkies coming off. Then we work on integrating it with our shield cast. Hand goes past opposite ear into our sword flare. Opposite ear into our sword flare. If you can go up in weight, then you are learning to integrate the movement of your body better, which makes simple things simpler. Lighter weights become easier to use for longer periods of time. This is a Hephaestus 35-pound club, same thing. Sword flare, catch. The catch is the important part, don't skip the catch. Into shield cast to sword flare. Shield cast to sword flare. With all of our single arm exercises, our goal for men is single arm 30 minimum. You should be able to do 100 mills, 100 reverse mills on each hand, 400 reps nonstop with a 30. If you haven't gotten there, probably don't try this exercise yet. If you're advanced, our goal is to get to single arm 50. Side effect is you will get abs, you will get glutes, you will definitely get arms, and you will get much better at these base movements. If you practice any type of throwing sport, baseball, football, axe throwing, if you practice any type of martial art, whether it be empty hand, MMA, jab, cross, hook, uppercut, integrated into throws, or sword fighting of any type, heavy club swinging will make you better at it. Start with inside circle, outside circle, shield cast. Build up to mill and reverse mill. Go through 7 weights. Then start doing the sexy stuff like this, which is outside sword flare, shield cast, sword flare, and then integrate all of that into your actual sport-specific position. Sword flare into pushes, sword flares into pushes. When you go to the advanced exercises, you're gonna go way down in weight. If you get to 30, you're going back down to 10 to start these advanced movement patterns, and you are rebuilding every time. The goal is not to get hurt, the goal is to get better.